Hello and welcome to another BuildASoil YouTube episode. Today we have episode 3, season 5. And this is the standalone 4x4 tent that we promised to do for you. If you recall, we're gonna grow autoflowers in here, and we wanted to ask what you'd like to see happen. Well, it was pretty much unanimous. Not everyone, but most everyone said, plant the autoflowers now, do not wait, and see if we have maybe room for 2 rounds, who knows. That's part of the power of autoflower, and so I feel like I agree. Let's just get started. So here's what I'm going to do. I'd like to plant in 10 days from today, give myself a little bit of a buffer for 2 reasons. One, I reached out to Daz. I want to make sure that we get whatever gear we're going to be running in this one, review what people's preferences are, and just make a choice. Then the seeds have to get here. So 10 days should be plenty of time to do that, and at the same time, I promised to show you how to re-amend this bed. Now, this is on it's going to be its 5th cycle. So this has been with us the whole YouTube series. That's why we decided to move it instead of do away with it. We want to keep this 3x3 bed going. Now this, if you don't know, was originally made from the take and bake, and this was the very first take and bake. When we were done with it, we decided, hey, that would be a good product. Let's just make it a thing. And it like broke our system because picker packers would have to go grab hundreds of pounds of stuff for one order just to ship. And anyways, it's been one of my favorite things. We got through that. And the reason why I say it's one of my favorites is that it would make it as easy as possible for people to say, you know what, I'd like to try making my own soil. And when that happened, what my hypothesis was that people would get connected. Because when you order from us, yeah, the machines make it, it's all the good ingredients, but it shows up in a bag. When you make it, this is like watching the Food Network and you making that meal. And from a business perspective, a little bit, I'm like, how are you gonna call your own meal bad? You know what I mean? So like it helps with the attitude towards dealing with the challenges that living soil provides when you're learning. But realistically, I knew authentically, it's better homemade from scratch. And if you get your own 2 hands in there and break up every clod and mix the soil, see the life, feel the warmth, you'll have a newfound respect for what living soil is, and you'll have made it yourself. And so to honor that, we're keeping it for its 5th cycle and show you things can get better. Now, over the seasons, we've done a soil test one time. For season 4, I showed you how to mix your own re-amend kit from scratch, and we applied it, and it worked really, really well. We're gonna do a real simple amend this time. Last time, we decked it out pretty good, and the harvest, it wasn't like huge, and the plants were super healthy. So in my feeling is that this is probably ready for another run without much work at all. So I'm gonna do a minimal re-amend, show you how I do it. The 4x4, we started with cover crop. I'm gonna grow that up and then I'm gonna terminate that by chopping it and dropping it. And then I'm gonna re-amend with that and mix in all that fresh organic material with my re-amend. But over here, we wanna get started in 10 days. So I don't have time to grow the cover crop and till it in. And I wanna get my amendments in right away so it starts breaking down and assimilating into the soil. You can basically re-amend and start planting into it. But I feel like when the biological action occurs and it starts to shift and the enzymes get created to start to break down this material, that's what we want to have happen. So I'm going to show you the bed, show you what we're working with, and just get started. But take a look in here. The clover has actually grown a little bit since then. I've got the EcoWit moisture meter in here, and it's feeding to my phone, and it tells me that we're at about 33% moisture. It looks a little dry on top, but that's because there's a mulch layer and the light has been on. And I don't have like anything really growing in here. I've not been keeping it super moist, so the humidity is a little low. But the moisture from the reading is good. And when I put my finger in a little deeper, I can feel the moisture is great, which means that it's mostly the top. So today, I don't need to do anything super special. I'm just gonna work the amendments in. I'll tell you what I'm using. Then I've got my filtered water hose. I'm just gonna hit it with that. Sometimes I'll add wetting agent, and I love using the Q-Yaha. I'll show it to you, especially if the bed's dry. But since it's wet, I don't really need it right now, and I'm gonna start using those materials as I get plants and seeds introduced into here, and we'll talk all about the tech. Today, to keep it simple, I'm gonna pull this moisture meter out. That's how deep it's reading. It's not that deep, but it gives me a really good feedback on how I'm watering, and I think we'll discuss maybe putting it deeper, burying it, putting it in the side maybe this season. We'll talk about some of that stuff as we get deeper into the season. But for now, I'm just gonna pull it, I'm gonna set it to the side, and then I'm gonna get my re-amend stuff ready, and I almost don't wanna kill this clover. I mentioned it last time because the clover moved, but this one in particular, I mean, it's one of the stinkiest flowers as far as that sweet flower smell. I mentioned to Dean because I wanted him to smell it because he edited the video and he was like, did it really smell that good? And it does smell that good, but it smells like clover honey to me. And he mentioned like jasmine. And so for what it's worth, really, really beautiful flowers on the clover. And so if that's any indication of the health of the soil, I think we're gonna have a killer run. I mean, look at the markings. Beautiful clover. So very happy with what's going on in here. all I really wanted to do I could basically plant and go. But I'm going to do a re-amend to give ourselves some oomph, and then I'm going to do it light so that if these autoflowers get huge, I can always add a little bit more later. It's such a big bed of soil for 4 autoflowers that I think we're just going to have no issues in here. Let's grab the material, let's get it going, and that'll be it for today. I just want to show you every step in the process so that when we get to plant the seeds, you know everything that I've done to get to this point. So I've got kind of a wall of products, and we're just moving stuff around in the store right now, so I'll start to highlight like what we're using that day on video, make it a little easier. But for now, I've got just our go-to. I always recommend if you don't have like a filtered hose like I'm going to use, you can just use your Chapin sprayer. And then this is the Kuyaha that I was talking about that I do like to mix in as a wetting agent. Today I'm just going to use the hose, so let me get to the amendments and tell you what I'm adding. Grab them out here. I did have a mineral kit out because I thought about it, but we added lots of minerals last time, and really I think that soil health is still phenomenal. Minerals last a long time, and so I want to address just what might be the limiting factor. Just make sure I re-up everything. And the way we describe it in the BuildASoil way is, it's almost like we want to have a full buffet. And through soil testing, what I've learned is, hey, like if you go to the buffet in Vegas, let's say, maybe the bacon and lobster is gone and they're refilling it all the time. But all the other stuff is kind of like they fill it more evenly because it goes even. Same in the soil. Certain things really need to be, and certain things are still going to be there. But what's good about slow release organic is that you can raise them all up to an appropriate level, and then you're a lot less likely to have an issue. And so that's what we're going to do, and we're going to use the craft blend to do it. So the craft blend, essentially, if you haven't heard the story, it's a mixture of 15 different ingredients that we carry here that are hard to get. We buy from all over the country, and since they all arrive in one location, and we have a big mixing machine, we mix it in the machine, and it makes the craft blend with 15 of our favorite ingredients. And I really do think that the reason why it's so special and why people love it so much is that permaculture principle of diversity. It really follows through here, and 15 such good ingredients in one bag. I know how much of a logistical problem it is to get truckloads of all these materials and mix them. So I know that most of the ingredients out there are not this diverse because it just creates a problem for the manufacturer. So thank you for buying it. It's one of our best selling products, and that's why I really like using it. I'm going to sprinkle it on here, and I've got kind of a recipe. I've got a ½ cup measuring cup, and I'm going to scoop in here so I can tell you how much I'm adding for this bed. If you really want to see a more detailed episode on re-amending, check out our season 4 2 ways to re-amend video. You'll see like how to re-amend. So if you check out that episode in season 4, it'll give you 2 different ways to re-amend where I go a little bit more into detail. But at the end of the day, one of the things to consider is when we start building soil from scratch, we usually want 1 to 2 cups of some nutrients and 2 to 4 cups of some minerals. Craftblend has all of it in one. And since I told you I want to do a light re-amend, I'm going to do 1 cup per cubic foot. But you'll also see in that episode in season 4, I don't amend all the soil. I'm only counting the top 6 inches as that fertility layer. So in here, 3 by 3 gives me 9 cubic feet of volume, 12 inches deep. But I'm only doing the top 6 inches. So really, I'm only trying to amend 4.5 cubic feet of soil. And if I'm doing 1 cup per, that's 4.5 cups, or 9 of these ½ cups. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'll show you what this looks like, because it's all organic, so it's just different textures, lots of minerals. There's malted barley seed in here. There's crustacean meal. So you get your own bag. You'll see what it is. You can read the ingredients online. But I'm going to sprinkle this in here, and I got a couple decisions to make. Do I want to kill this beautiful clover just to re-amend it? Do I kind of want to let it going? It really doesn't matter. It's not like it's a stand of cover crop, but I kind of want to just let it live and re-amend around it and see what happens. And I'll just chop it and drop it later when I plant the seeds. They're so pretty. I'm going to let them keep growing. So whatever, it is what it is. I could easily just chop those and drop those as part of this re-amend right now. And I guess what I'm trying to teach you is that there's not one right way to do this, right? Just take in mind the principles that we're teaching, and you apply it to whatever makes you feel the best. That's half of this is having something to look forward to. And these flowers are so pretty, I'm just going to let them stay. So I'm going to sprinkle these, and we'll go to the next step. So let's get in here. One. Two. And you can see I'm leaving the stalks from the last row. I'm just going to leave them right there. You could do a twist and use your gardening knife and pull those out. You can leave them. It's totally up to you. The idea with no-till is to not disturb much. I think I can plant next to them, so if we need to pull them, we'll talk about it later. For right now, I think we're totally good. Four, 5, 8, and 9. So there's 4.5 cups of material in here, 9 of these half cups. You can see it's quite a bit of material, but that's a lot of soil. And I think it's going to do a great job. Now, I could leave it like that, but that's not going to do much. It's just going to sit there under the light, and it's not going to really incorporate. We need biology to break that down. It's attached to carbon, it's organic nutrients. Like as far as human health goes, I often think of it this way: is the plants, they eat all the rock, they eat all the mineral, they eat those nutrient salts and all the things that are we call vitamins, right? But then they process them into an organic version, so we don't have to eat the dirt. If we could, I'm sure we would. Some people even do. But it's better to have the plant eat the dirt through the roots, and then the plant eat the sun, and we eat the plant. And then from there, animals that eat plants that eat the sun, we eat. From there, usually it's less common that you see people eat animals that eat animals, because the further you get from the sun and those raw minerals, the less nutritious. That's part of the theory there. So all of this stuff is some plant material, some animal material, and a lot of micronutrients from the ocean and the crustacean. And so we want to incorporate that by biology, just like it was in our stomach, and break it all down, or it's basically pointless. And so to do that, it needs to be wet, it needs to be touching the soil. And so I've got a couple ways to do that. Because there was straw here and a mulch, I'm actually going to work it into the soil. If that was bare soil, I could leave it there and cover it with some compost or worm castings. I've got a bag of BuildASoil is what I'm going to use, but first I'm going to get my hands in there. So I'm just going to wiggle it in like I did in the other bed, and I'm just going to incorporate it like this. I'm not really tilling the soil, but I'm breaking up that straw layer and wiggling it so it drops down into the soil. That'll give me some soil contact. That means the moisture and biology will touch it. That means that the biology will start creating enzymes that break it down specifically. If there's worms in here still, which I'm sure they are, the worms will come up. They'll start breaking this down, converting them into highly nutritious worm castings, all by the time I go get to plant these seeds. And so we're going to keep it warm in here. I'll keep the light on just low. That'll keep the warmth up. I'll keep the moisture on point using the moisture meter. And we'll just make sure that this incorporates into really good soil for its 5th cycle. And it's been so low maintenance. Once we bought this soil, I mean, I'm adding a few things and that's about it. So that already looks a lot better. I'm going to hit it with the hose just once real quick, because I've got it. And I got one more special ingredient I might as well add. This is just in a plain bag because it's a tester. AJ from Growing Organic is going to release his bloom version of his kashi. And the kashi is an amendment that is almost culinary in the sense that they combine ingredients together and then they ferment them. Then they dry them. Then they screen them. Then they bag it. And so it's a lot different than just buying each raw ingredient. And the idea is that this comes with a lot of its own biology and nutrition. And the biology that's in here is higher in lactic acid, lactobacillus. And if you know, like sauerkraut, kimchi, all that, a lot of lactobacillus as well, that helps break down organic matter. So autoflowers, very short veg time. Good to use the bloom one. I'm just going to put a little bit in here to help break down all those amendments along with. And as they touch those amendments and I add the moisture, the biology in here will start to break it all down like we discussed, like a stomach. So let me just sprinkle some. Now I'm going to grab a handful and do 2 handfuls. So just 1 handful on this side, 1 handful on this side. That's about it. So the reason why we're adding their bloom version, which you could add any kashi, you could make your own, really goes a long way for the dollar when you make your own. It's incredible. And AJ, he'll teach you how to make his. I mean, it's all open source. But the bloom one has a little bit more phosphorus in it and another organic amendment that does that. And the reason why I chose to go to the bloom is like they're autoflowers. So they're going to have a very short veg period and go to flower pretty quickly. So by the time this all breaks down, it'll be perfect timing for the autoflowers. So set that down. Thanks AJ for the tester bag. I think those are releasing. Probably by the time this video comes out, we'll be like getting our first purchase in, and then that'll be releasing soon. Let me hit it with the hose, and then we'll go on to the BuildASoil. So this is just filtered water. This will move the amendments around a little bit, get them wet, get them to kind of suck down deeper into the soil, and get the worms. If we keep this nice and moist and keep the light low, the worms will come up under that mulch and start to eat all of that. Okay, I don't want to overwater it. Since the moisture is already pretty good, I'm going to leave it at that. Go to the last step here. Now we have lots of other products. I love using like the gnarly barley and other things when I'm amending, but there's already some sprouted seeds in the craft blend. So I'm just trying to keep it super basic for season 5. Make sure you guys know that low maintenance, low tech, big check, they say. I just want to like keep it super simple and show you what you can produce. So I think we're doing off to a good start with that. Here's the Build-A-Flower top dress. And so I've just had this bag open, sitting here for a while. But even when it's dry, you can see how dark black it is. That's because of the humic content. It's worm castings and compost and biochar and amendments, and you can see all of it when it's kind of dry. But I'm about to add some moisture back to this as I amend it to the bed. I'm just gonna spread a little bit on there and spread it out. There's probably about 5 gallons in here. I'm not even gonna do close to that. I'll probably do half the bag at most. I'm just gonna spread this out a little bit. Now it's kind of covering all those amendments that I just put in. And then what I'm gonna do is get some fresh straw mulch. I like to mulch. There was a little bit left in here, but I just kind of covered it up. So I'm gonna get a bag of the Blue Oyster straw log mulch that Kevin makes, Man Purse Medicinals. He works here. He's super into all of the mycology, and so that straw is my favorite. It's really nice, so I'm gonna bring a log over, and I'm gonna spread that straw mulch on here, and in one of the next episodes I'll at least show you what it looks like as we keep you up to date on what this 4x4 is doing. So let's get it all wet. Kind of glue this to all the amendments and make sure the top stays moist there. Then when I put the mulch on and keep it wet, it's really gonna stay moist, and the worms will love that. Okay, that's all I want to do. And now I'm going to make sure that this light is turned all the way down, and I'm going to close it up, and you can see I'm getting a little bit of runoff, so I put a decent amount in there. I think really when I hit the water down the side, we're just getting a bit, and that's probably all we'll see. But that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to get it moist. I wanted to re-amend. I wanted to keep it simple, and just to keep documenting everything, we got to turn the camera on and say, this is what I'm doing today, so you know. And then when the seeds get here, we'll tell you what we're planting. I'll show you that the mulch is done. And the next thing that we've got to figure out is, am I just going to really put a seed right in there? Or do I want to like dig a hole, put some fresh soil? I really want to make sure that we get good germination on all these seeds, and I'd like to do it directly in the bed. So we're going to have to talk about that and come up with a game plan. What would you recommend I do? Autoflower growers, got a bed of soil. It's going to crush. Do you want me to start them and transplant them? Or do you think I should like make a little start area for each seed in there and do my best just doing it that way? Probably have some extra seeds so I can maybe pop 8 and then pick the best 4. Maybe that'll really make sure, but all I want to do is ensure that we have the best run possible to show off autoflowers in a dedicated tent. So give me your feedback, and I promise to listen to it. We'll update you as we keep going. Otherwise, that's it. This has been episode 3 of season 5 of the BuildASoil YouTube series. I can't believe we're on season 5 already. I love that you guys are watching this. Since we started BuildASoil, I've been growing and had plants in soil nonstop for the last decade, and then doing it on Instagram, and now to actually fully do it on YouTube, I feel like it shows you that you can do this too. And a lot of us spend lots of money on herb, food, and to be able to be your own producer is one of the most rewarding things that you can do. Ups the quality, good gifts for friends, lots of good vibes to look forward to when you've got a garden. So if you haven't already, jump in and do it. If you have and you're part of the scene, we really appreciate you. Subscribe, like, tell your friends about this stuff. And until the next episode, I'll see you guys on the next BuildASoil YouTube video.